Hey guys, I'm Dallas Seeley, founder and owner of the Seeley Group, one of the top-ranked real estate brokerages in the entire country. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in any kind of real estate out in Lake Travis, West Austin, or Central Texas as a whole, we're here to help. So today, I'm so excited to take a deep dive with you guys on what true hand-scraped Venetian plaster is. From a high level, it's one of those finish outs. You can do an accent wall, you can do a fireplace, you can do an entire room that just completely elevates the entire vibe and the space as a whole and really takes it to that top tier luxury finish out that we all want. That being said, as you're going to find out, there's a ton of imitators, there's a ton of fakes. Here in Austin, Texas, right, one of the largest markets in the entire country, there's only 2 or 3 true Venetian plaster artisans that order the real deal stuff from Italy that has a marble base. And today we have one of those masters here for you guys as well. His name's Landon Bauer. He's the owner and founder of Da Vinci's Way. I'm excited to take an in-depth dive to talk everything Venetian plaster. You guys ready? Here we go. All right, so I'm excited to talk about this magnificent piece of art you've done. But first, let's take a step back. We got to educate the viewers at home. You told me earlier you're one of 2, maybe 3 true Venetian plaster artists in all of Austin, Central Texas. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, and you also said when you first moved here, which you said you see a dime a dozen is imitation fake plaster.
That's right.
Okay, so kind of educate us. What is imitation, what is fake, and what is real deal Holyfield?
Sure. So the main thing that you're going to have with imitation to real authentic plaster, imitation is it's a acrylic gypsum lime. It's a plastic-based lime. It's
plastic-based.
Correct. It's not.
And real authentic is stone marble-based from Italy.
Correct. The real.
Okay.
Yes. Gypsum lime.
So Dallas Cliff Notes.
Right.
The fake wannabes have a cheap plastic base.
Correct.
And the real deal has a marble from Italy base.
Correct. And it's a night and day difference. You can tell if you're comparing apples to apples. We have sample to sample. I mean, the depth, the movement, it looks nothing similar to this. You get a little bit of the variance of highs and lows, and that is what people are just normally drawn to. But then once you see what the difference is with authentic, it's night and day difference.
So if you're a consumer and let's say you're watching this video and you're not based in Austin, Texas, and you're interviewing or you're looking at other companies' work, what are the clear tell signs, just real simple cliff notes, someone who's never been around authentic plaster before, what are the clear signs of an imitation,
right? And
what are the clear signs that it's real?
Well, if I was shopping for plaster and knew nothing about it, these are the questions I would probably ask. What the longevity of the plaster is it going to be waterproofed? And is it something that is multi-coat based? And multi-coat based means there's multiple coats of product. The imitation is not multiple coats.
Okay. So from experience, you did 5 coats on all of these walls, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
And another thing for me, kind of cliff notes for the viewers at home, you talked about not only earlier, but as we worked together,
right,
that the product came directly from Italy.
That's right. Yeah.
So is it anywhere in Italy, or are there certain regions or certain brands that consumers should ask for? Hey, what is the brand of product you're getting and where is it from? What are those questions they should ask?
Sure. So the main product that I use, Nova Color, that is the high end, that is the best stuff, that is what you want to get. And if they're not using Nova Color or potentially San Marco, I would say that you're getting imitation plaster.
So I'm hearing there's only 2 authentic companies out of Italy that have the true real marble-based plaster, and those brands are Nova Color and
San Marco.
San Marco.
That's right.
Those,
yeah.
So there's only two.
Right. That I would reference to people. Now, there could be some others, but these are tried and true, and I know that they're good product, and they have longevity behind them.
Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So let's talk about the user experience. We had a third sample, but I'm just going to talk about these two.
Yeah.
When you work with Landon in Da Vinci's Way, which kind of taking a step back, which was by referral.
Yeah.
He came over to the home. He kind of had a great in-depth conversation with my wife and myself.
Right.
What are we looking for? What rooms? What are we thinking? And before you make any kind of commitment, he's going to work up some sample boards in the space. So again, he actually did 3 different variances for us. You know, I think, don't think good, better, best. There was an even more conservative option with less movement as this middle one, which is kind of more the direction we ended up going. And then you can see he can go extremely aggressive. And as we go into the guest suite bathroom later on, you'll see how different colors and different tones, maybe you do want to go more conservative, more mid-tier, and you'll see in the bathroom, we actually did go more aggressive, which looks beautiful. So Landon, kind of talk to us about that first step with the client, meeting with them, and sort of mocking up some sample boards based on those discussions.
So I guess just from the start, from the top, somebody calls Da Vinci, somebody's looking for me, and they're looking to get some plaster work done. First thing I ask for is inspirations, because everyone's got Google, you know, Pinterest. Somebody's found something that they love and they want to replicate. So as soon as they share those inspiration photos, I take a look at them. I verify that that is authentic plaster first, that I can recreate that for them. And then secondly, we try to land on their color code, right? So once we pick out a color code, if there's 1, if there's 2 of their top choices, I will then create a sample for them. So the sample that we're creating is making sure that somebody is getting exactly what they are authorizing and approving on their full place of wall or wall coverings.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So what I would recommend, no matter if you're a novice or an expert more in the design category, when you go all out on true Venetian plaster, it's not going to be cheap. You're spending anywhere, you know, I don't want to guarantee prices, but you know, 25, even over $30 a square foot. And so what I would recommend, which is what our clients have done, what we did, is to get your professional designer involved only on the color choice, because you've got to choose, you know, there's 300 different shades of blue and how it's going to fit with the rug and the wood tone and the other walls around it and all the finish outs.
Yes.
But, you know, you made just like 200 different shades of blue. You only made 3 different mock-ups of sample. I'm sure you could make 30 if you wanted to.
Absolutely.
So getting a professional designer involved, especially if you have a spouse who thinks very differently than you do, is highly, highly recommended, right?
That's right.
That's a marriage tip right there, 101, right?
Right.
The other thing the designer did for us, if we look up, instead of keeping the blue going throughout, he wanted to do a contrasting color of Venetian plaster on the first level of the ceiling coffer to really add some elevated height and contrast to the space. And I know, you know, this was a little different from you, but talk to us about, in your opinion, how this finished out, how it all came together, and then how you're able to do the exact same high-end authentic finish on a ceiling as well as the wall.
Sure. So I really do like what we did here as far as the coffered here and then the reliefs. Each one of the reliefs holding the same color as the wall accents it beautifully. The gray actually had a buffing and a waxing done as well that gives it that sheen and that pop. But everything in here that has plaster is a level 5 finish first, which a level 5 finish, if you don't know, is a completely smooth, textureless wall. So before getting any plaster work done, the wall has to be to a level 5. So that's no texture, no orange peel, no knockdown. It has to be flat. Because of the many layers of plaster that we put on, we're building depth. So in this room specifically, the ceiling had a little bit of texture, as well as the coffer here also had texture that we had to get rid of and remove before we were able to plaster and give you that nice shine and slick finish.
That's absolutely right. So another kind of nugget for the viewers at home, if your walls are not level 5 smooth, which most homes do not have pure level 5,
right?
If you're interviewing or talking to any kind of contractor and their very first thing they say is, we have to smooth all this out, if they don't say that, that's probably a red flag that it's not authentic Venetian plaster.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. There is some products out there that you can get away with it, but your outcome won't be what, I think those inspiration photos that most people bring to the table that they're requesting and wanting would be.
Yep. Which is the depth, the strokes, as you see it from different angles, there's different pops and sheens. And so
variation.
We're gonna move on to the guest bedroom suite, which has some really cool different colors and finish outs, but I want to take a moment and have the viewers really see some in-depth views of this space and everything that you were able to create. This is living art, Landon Bauer, Da Vinci's Ways, authentic Venetian plaster.
Thanks, Dallas.
Yeah, man. All right, so we are here in the guest room, and as you can see, and I don't know where the third sample went, but we had 3 different samples, just like the dining room, and you can see we had more of a conservative, we had a mid-tier, and then super aggressive, and my wife overruled me, which I'm glad she did, and we went with kind of, a little more towards the conservative end on these, but this turned out to be a very, very cool finished product. I'm sure as the viewer saw at home, the designer nailed it. The initial vision was sort of a penthouse suite at a boutique Paris hotel. So talk to us. I know you were a little bit hesitant on this color initially. It's kind of a bronzy, little bit of a brown, a little bit of a green, depending on how the light hits it.
Right.
And, again, our designer really got into it, starting with the tones of the rugs and the pillows and the furniture and how everything tied together.
Yeah.
Really talk to us about this room, more cool details. We did paneling, and you only did the inset of the paneling on most of the walls, and then the full back wall and the ceiling, right?
I know it. And honestly, when the color was first shown to me for the enduring bronze that you guys ended up going with, I was very unsure about it. I didn't know how it was going to look, but you're absolutely right. Your designer killed it. He was spot on. I think inside of these panelings here was the first time I've ever actually done that, which encompasses the plaster in each one of these sections, including the ceiling and the back wall. It really was a first for me to do it, and I'm glad that we were able to be a part of this because it is stunning.
Yeah, big undertaking. There's a link right above me below to the in-depth video with Brady Matthews, one of the top interior designers in the entire country. So Brady was phenomenal. What I love is he sort of pushed you outside of your comfort zone with this room. Only inset panelings, doing the ceiling, and really tying everything together. Just absolutely stunning.
Yes.
So this was this material was ordered from Italy.
It was.
Right? And of the 2 brands, which brand was it?
Nova.
The Nova, okay, and you did minimum 5 coats. You might have done 6 on this room because of the color.
That's right. There was a lot. Yes, there was a lot, and the preparation was very intense to get this the way it needed to be, the way it needed to set. Yes,
and just having fun with it. I think the final choice to go more conservative, more cloudy on the walls was because some of the bigger pops in this room were actually from the curtains and the chandelier and the custom wallpaper mural.
That's right. And I think, I really do, I think Brady chose correctly with the more conservative, because you're right, there's so many different pieces in the room that tie it well together. This is just one of those onsets that pull everything in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Perfect. All right, so we are finishing off in the guest suite bathroom, and I do have to say, of the three, you know, with my personality, this is my favorite. As you can see, we did more samples, and with this lighter tone, we did go with the most aggressive in this space. And I just personally love how everything turned out. We've got this Italian statutory white marble with beautiful gray veining in it. We've got Carrara marble on the floors with the gray veining. And, you know, maybe it's the lighter color tones, but to me, the aggressiveness, the sort of burnish finish that you were able to accomplish, Landon,
Yes.
Of the three spaces, this truly feels like we have marble on the wall.
You do. In fact, you do. That's exactly what you have.
So let's get a little nerdy.
Sure.
And when you go this aggressive, when you go with this much of a burnish finish, what is the difference in your application for layers to get this final product?
So very similar, right, with what you have out in the living room, dining room, and what you have in the bedroom, except once you're finishing your final two coats, there's a burnish technique, and that technique is used to actually heat up the materials that are in the Venetian plaster. So what you're doing is you're actually creating friction with your trowel, and you're doing it repeatedly. And as you're doing it consistently, you're heating and activating the marble percentage from Italy.
Wow.
That is actually giving you that reflection in the material. But it is something that if you're not trained and you don't have that right pitch or that right pressure, can absolutely tear and ruin an entire wall.
Okay. So I'm assuming you have like professional heaters that you're doing on the final process to get this burnish finished, right?
Sure. No heaters. No heaters. It's strictly your trowel. That's it. That's all you're using as a trowel. But that trowel is creating that friction because you're doing it repeatedly. That's causing that heat.
So it's 1,000% your human hand skill set.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, when you are wanting to do authentic Venetian plaster, you have to understand that, as Landon said earlier, this is living art. You really need to do your due diligence on getting recommendations, interviewing multiple different vendors, asking the right questions that we talked about before, from, hey, how many coats are you going to do? If it's not at least 5, that should be a red flag. Where are you getting your product from? If it's not those 2 brands from Italy, that probably should be a red flag. And then going to see not just the samples they make you, but going to see previous versions of their work and seeing, does it have this depthness? Does it have a sheen, right? On all 3 spaces. And for our client spaces, one of the last pieces, because, you know, this is a hand finished marble with the wax sheen. You're literally getting like a car buffer up there.
Oh yeah.
And you know, like a detail shop.
Right.
And you're doing all the things.
At the very end, after burnishing, we're putting on a wax, and you're absolutely right. We're using a buffer, and we're waxing, and we're creating this to become a locked in, sealed piece of marble, just as if you were looking at this for granite. You have this now on your wall.
Beautiful. Awesome. Landon Bauer, the Vinci's Way Authentic Plaster here in Austin, Texas. If someone's watching the video right now, and we'll put the links in it, where can they find you at?
Instagram, we have a website on Google. You can find us davincisway.co, or the Instagram is at davincis_ways.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Landon, thank you so much for your expertise today. I was excited to get a little nerdy and to really talk about, the imitations, the fakes, which seems a dime a dozen out there.
Yes.
And, the real deal Holyfield, authentic artists that do true hand scrape Venetian plaster. We're in one of the largest markets in the country. There's only 2 or 3 real guys out there that do it right.
It's true.
And so you're one of the few. Just want to say thank you again for your time. Thank you for your expertise. And reach out to Landon and his team today. They'd love to help.
It's a pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Good morning, Dallas. Seeley, founder and owner of the Seeley Group, one of the top-ranked brokerages and teams here, not only in the state of Texas, but the entire country. And today, we have a very special video. We have the one, the only Mr. Landon Bauer of Da Vinci's Way Custom Plaster coming to you live. Today, we're going to really dive deep. We're going to get nerdy. We're going to learn about your story and really what you do, which is just completely different in the real estate industry. So we're talking about high-end, real deal Holyfield, 100% authentic Venetian plaster.
That's right.
Right? We're talking about how it really massively steps up the caliber of luxury in your home, whether you do just an accent wall in a primary room like the bedroom, the living room. You've done great room fireplaces and Venetian plaster, or if you do whole rooms and all the different things. So big round of applause. I'm sure we're going to edit in some fun clapping, Mr. Landon Bauer at the golf clap.
Thank you. Yes.
So I'm gonna take a step back. And obviously your business is 100% referral. You were referred to us, and you've done our personal home, you've done clients' homes, but I want to start from the very beginning and just talk about your story. How in the world did you get into something so custom and niche as true Venetian plaster?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. Well, it started in Anchorage, Alaska. Anchorage, Alaska is where I am from, born and raised.
Okay.
So when I found the product, when I was given the product about 10, 12 years ago, it started in my own personal home, actually.
Wow.
So it wasn't something that, was just taught to me as most traditional plasterers are, right? It's a technique that is passed down. And I took it upon myself to learn how to plaster in my own home, messing up many times on my own walls before actually being able to master this skill.
So just to recap, you were 100% self-taught?
That's right, yeah.
And you used your home as your own kind of mad scientist laboratory, as they say?
If you will, in many different colors. But I'd say by the last maybe handful of walls, I finally started getting it down and started understanding the technique and, the angles and the pressures and just everything that's required for plaster.
So most artisans have some kind of apprentice setup. This is passed down from master to apprentice, very much the old world style, as you were discussing earlier with me. And you, being in Anchorage, Alaska at the time, and this was, I think you said earlier, 2012, is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
You were 1,000% self-taught. You were using your own personal home as a laboratory, trial and error.
Yeah.
And how long was sort of that first chapter, that self-taught sort of laboratory chapter?
Sure. So I was probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years before I was really comfortable. And friends and family at that point started kind of queuing in on the walls that I had that were done and completed, and wanted to actually have me do their walls and do their homes and accent walls. And that's that story within itself is, a confidence growing story, because even though I was okay in my own house, now offering this to other people was nerve-wracking, right? So the first wall that I did at my aunt's house, I had, all kinds of nerves, was not sure of myself. And I think that's kind of what plaster is. You really have to be secure with what you're doing and understanding that this material is very, very, very luxury, high end. And if you don't nail it the first time, you're going to show mistakes throughout the entire piece, and you can't have that. You have to really get it dialed in.
Okay. So a couple questions about that first chapter. For those first 2 years, as you were by trial and error being self-taught, what were you doing for work at the time?
So actually, I was still at a 9 to 5. I was working for a dealership, a car dealership.
Okay.
I was a service consultant and doing this part-time when I would come home. It was a passion, a hobby really that, sparked into something more that we, are here to discuss today. But in the beginning, yeah.
So just paint the picture for me, no pun intended. You were a collegiate athlete in Anchorage, Alaska, selling cars, who fell in love and found a passion for high-end luxury Venetian plaster.
Sure.
Do you see how those kind of share with myself and the viewers at home, how that way out of left field, it started? I mean, was that a complete surprise to you as well?
Well, I think everyone has had, some kind of adversity that they've had to overcome. And being a collegiate athlete was when I was a lot younger, and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So the collegiate athlete kind of went out the door with, that diagnosis. So then my life suddenly shifted from being one path, going to college, playing ball, to now I need to figure out what real life is about. And that was a hard time for me. So what I fell into was something that I thought was easier for me, which was, speaking to people, talking to people, getting along with people, which I've always felt that I was natural at. So car dealership is where I landed, which I'm so happy I did, because fast forward a little bit, that is now where I have met my wife, and my 2 beautiful children are from, is the woman that I met at the car dealership.
Okay.
But I guess we take a step back, and being at the car dealership, that's where I was introduced to Venetian plaster, and the trial of 1.5 of 2 years of, the mad scientist at the house, figuring out how plaster works, not having a mentor, not having somebody tell me what I'm doing right or wrong, and having to figure that out myself. That's where that came from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So chapter 2, friends and family start to come over to your home, or the laboratory, as we can dub it.
Right.
And as you got better and better over the course of 2 years, and you told me earlier, you ran out of wall space, so you started redoing new walls over old walls.
That's right.
They started to see your skill grow, and they started to want you to do some walls in their home. How did that grow into the next chapter from just friends and family?
Sure. So that first contact that I had, that was my friend, he was the one that introduced me to the plaster. During this time of me mastering or honing in my skills, working for friends or family, he was able to line up a couple projects for me here and there. But these projects never really blossomed into something where I was able to sustain and just do this full time. So I was still doing part-time dealership while running part-time business and doing plaster. Alaska's a smaller state, big on the map, population-wise small. Luxury homes, luxury finishes aren't necessarily the key point in Alaska. So it was a struggle to get my feet in the business, I guess, if you will, because luxury finishes. Luxury finishes aren't necessarily the thing that people are after in Alaska. It's more about warmth and your heater, right? That's what they're worried about.
Yeah.
So the high-end luxury touches are something not even as an afterthought, maybe even something further past that, right? So the ones that I got were far and few between. So the business was not nearly as strong as it has become since actually entering here in Texas.
But at that point, you had completely fallen in love with plaster.
Oh, yeah.
So were
Absolutely.
you know, before you decided to explore other market opportunities, had left the dealership and gone full-time trying to build the plaster company, or pretty much the entire time you were in Anchorage, you were doing both at the same time?
Right. So I stepped away for a little bit from the dealership trying to run full-time for, Venetian plastering, and it didn't catch. But I still had that, that earning, right? That yearning to want to plaster. I mean, it was something that I fell in love with from the first time that I touched it, and wanted to continue and share that with people. It's art, and it's an appreciation of art. And I love that. And I love being able to leave a piece of myself with somebody in their forever home. But I wasn't able to, like I said, capitalize on enough business. So leaving the dealership, then going back to the dealership, and it was kind of this back and forth, dance that I had of trying to keep plaster alive in Alaska, which was a struggle, and, maintaining, a family life, if you will.
So, obviously you had clearly identified and fallen in love with the passion. The Alaskan market just doesn't have enough demand for obvious reasons. So what year did you and your wife really start to consider moving down to the lower 48? And why did Austin end up being the final choice?
So I believe it was 2020 when it was really something that we were contemplating, maybe 2019.
So was it before or after COVID?
Right. I think it was actually right after.
Okay.
When was COVID-19?
March of 2020.
Okay, so it was 2020 then. So it was 2020. It was right after.
Okay.
Or even maybe still at the tail end of COVID that we were. When did COVID? No, I guess COVID's never really ended, right? I mean, it's whatever.
We don't need to go into COVID. All right. So what year did y'all?
2020.
Okay.
So in 2020, my wife not at the time, but my wife now, she was going to school in Alaska. There's a 4-year wait list to get into a nursing program. They don't have enough professors in Alaska.
Okay.
So there's a very, very limited allowance and acceptance of nursing students. So we started kind of outsourcing, looking around who had the acceptance of her curriculum that she had for all her GERs that would be transferable and what would line up right. And it just so happened it was UMHB, which is University Mary Hardin Baylor. And she sent out everything that she needed to send out, and there was an acceptance of her. And at that point, we had our first boy, our first son, and I didn't want them to drive with me, so I had them fly. My son was only a couple months old at the time, and I ended up driving from Alaska through Canada, which was beautiful, by the way. Canada's gorgeous. All the way down through Montana and straight down to...
I'm assuming this was in the summer.
No, it was in the winter.
Wow.
Yeah, it was in the winter through the Alaskan. It was rough. The drive was rough, but it was beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful drive. So when we got here, I had no intentions of doing plaster. I was scared out of my mind. I had no contacts. I had no idea what I was going to do. No idea.
This was just 4 years ago.
Right.
Okay.
No idea what I was going to do. I had a trade that I knew that was valuable to me, but I didn't know what the pricing was going to be able to be quantified as for support, right, for my family. So when I got here, she was accepted into the nursing school, started that. I actually started as a project manager for a hardwood flooring company here because I had a little construction background.
Okay.
I think being from Alaska, most people that live there kind of have that.
You have to be handy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You kind of have to be handy. So I had that knack already. When I got here, though, I started as a project manager, and there was a reputable building in downtown Austin, and we were working in the penthouse. And that penthouse just so happened to be the owner of that building's unit, and he had gotten Venetian plaster done. And I seen the plaster that he got, and I don't want to name.
It wasn't up to your standard.
It was not, and I could tell it was imitation right away. And so when I seen it, and I started doing more research and found out that there's very, very limited people that are offering authentic Venetian plaster here. It was like a light switch, man. It just hit, and I got excited about it. And I just, I went 180 miles an hour, and I knew that there was an opportunity for Da Vinci's to blossom here, especially just seeing that one home. And I just, unfamiliar of the demographics at the time, not knowing exactly what I was going to do, the marketing scheme, nothing. I knew that Da Vinci's Way, Venetian plaster, and Austin, Texas were going to go hand in hand. And I wasn't going to stop until that happened.
So, question, where did the name come from?
I don't know. I know that's a bad answer, but I don't know.
It sounds cool.
Yeah, it does. And I
Italian, Venetian,
right.
Da Vinci,
right? The greats, And I just thought Da Vinci's Way was fitting because it really is an art piece that you're doing on somebody's wall, and like I said, it's everlasting. Little tidbit about plaster: the city of Pompeii. Many, many years ago, for the volcano that erupted, there was a lot of authentic Venetian plaster in those homes.
Mm-hmm.
And when that volcano hit, the walls that were covered in plaster are still standing today because it is 100% authentic Italian marble, and it will last a lifetime.
That's fireproof.
It is. It absolutely is, amongst other benefits that you're getting from it as well. But yes, it is absolutely fireproof. Fire retardant.
So it's 4 years ago. You just moved to Austin.
Yeah.
Didn't even really have clarity on how you were going to plant your roots.
Right.
You're working for a flooring company. You're in a high-end penthouse downtown, and you saw there was an imitation fake.
Yeah.
And your standards, your passion, all that reignited the fire. What was your first big break here in the Austin market?
I don't know if I should name the business. I mean, it's not necessarily about the business, but I was knocking doors. I was knocking on doors. I was making phone calls. I was getting after it, man.
I mean, hustling.
Yeah,
you're winning me over, man.
Well,
Hustling.
I was. It wasn't a matter of failure being an option.
Yeah, well, we want to know, what was your first big break here in Austin?
It was actually Foresight. Foresight Studio was the one that gave me my first break, and it was a little fireplace that I did, and it got my feet wet here. Okay. And it was another referral off of Foresight.
So you did just a fireplace.
That was it.
And you crushed it.
Yeah.
And then that started the referrals?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah, quickly it did.
What year was that?
I think that was 21, maybe late of 21.
Okay.
Or mid 21, somewhere in there.
Got it.
Yeah, that was the first site that I had. And I remember I was feeling defeated, right? As, rejection can sometimes do to a person. And I just knew in my heart that I wouldn't give up, because I'm not built that way to give up, but I could feel the pressure and it weighing on me, right? As a savings account is dwindling, wife's going to work, school, going to college. We got a newborn at the house, and I didn't have a choice. There was no choice of giving up, right? And I had to make it work. I was so far away from home that there was no support, and no one was going to.
No plan B.
No plan B. It was plan A. As reckless as that sounds, I've heard people say, when is the right time to jump in? And it's always the time that feels the wrong time to jump in, right? And that's when I jumped. And it was both feet, but knocking on doors, phone calls, leaving cards.
Yeah.
I remember my first batch of cards. I remember I was negotiating with a guy for 1,000 cards on Etsy because it was like a $50 thing compared to like a $60 thing. And I was just that, we were that tight on money and funds, and it was rough. It was, but since then it's been a full swing.
So you got your first break in 2021.
Yeah.
It's been just 3 years. Kind of give us the the cliff notes, the 1,000-foot view of, the past 3 years and how you have grown and evolved the business to where it's at today.
Sure. So I would think the foundation that I've laid, the footwork that I've laid has been everything, obviously, to jump. But I think the training, right? The training and being able to pass that craft down of all the mistakes that I've made, all the errors in judgment of plaster that I thought I knew 10 years ago that I had no idea of. Being able to bring somebody on to Da Vinci's as a team and teaching them the right from wrong. And I think having somebody as myself and my other team members that are professional plasterers as well, being able to teach a craft to the onboarding, apprentice, I think that has been a huge pillar of Da Vinci's and, being successful and gaining all this reputation that we have.
Okay, awesome. So last couple questions right now, would you say your business here in Austin is primarily residential, primarily commercial, 50-50 mix? Like, what's your bread and butter?
It's been residential. We've got a couple commercial sites under our belts, but a lot of residential, a lot of custom builds, a lot of new builds, few renovations, but mainly is going to be a custom build, is what I see. A lot of builders, few designers, and then I'd say maybe 20% or so for commercial.
Okay.
That's probably what it is. So 80% residential.
Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's take a little bit of a tour of some of the spaces in this home that you've done.
Okay.
Let's talk about the process and all the different options that you're, able to offer to a client.
Okay.
Ready to do it?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
all right. Let's do it.
All right. Thanks.
All right, guys, that was so much fun. Thank you so much to Landon Bauer of Da Vinci's Way, one of the true artisans here in Central Texas that can deliver on authentic, real hand-scraped Venetian plaster. Again, there's some red flags. You really need to do your due diligence, right? Is the base marble? Is it plastic? We talked about the 2 different companies that it should be ordered from out of Italy, and you need a minimum of 5 different layers with a finish of that hand wax buffing to get the full effect. Beautiful, beautiful luxury finish outs, right? You can do anything you want to your home, an accent wall, the fireplace, your full dining room, guest suite, whatever your heart's desire. But remember, this is high level. So please work with your interior designer. Please be thoughtful on not only the color finish outs, but getting samples if you want to go more on that conservative side of the final look of the plaster, more aggressive, the space, the colors, and how everything flows together. Again, my name's Dallas Seeley. I'm the founder and owner of the Seeley Group, one of the top-ranked real estate brokerages in the entire state and country. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, myself and my team's here to help. If you liked what you heard today, if you want to see more luxury real estate videos, click on the like and subscribe button below. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.